Thus thought I, as by night I read, of the great army of the dead. The trenches cold and damp, the starved and frozen camp, the wounded from the battle plain, in dreary hospitals of pain, the speechless corridors, the cold and stony floors. Lo, in that house of misery, a lady with a lamp I see, pass through the glimmering gloom, and flit from room to room. And slow as in a dream of bliss, the speechless sufferer turns to kiss her shadow as it falls upon the darkening walls. This poem, written by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, is about a remarkable woman named Florence Nightingale, who was the leading founder of nursing care in the 1800s and is known as the Lady with the Lamp. I'm currently enrolled here at AACC in the nursing program, as well as being a certified nursing assistant. I chose to research Florence because a lot of what we learn in our textbooks was first established by her. When we graduate, we recite the Florence Nightingale Pledge, which is the Hippocratic Oath of Nursing. Wikipedia tells us in a bibliography of Florence that in the Crimea War of 1853, Florence and a group of 38 other nurses were the first women allowed to officially serve in the military. The British Broadcasting Corporation says in an article about Florence that she discovered that 80% of the soldiers' deaths were caused by the unsanitary care, not the soldiers' war wounds. She was the first person to introduce the idea of hand washing to prevent the spread of diseases, a topic that is profoundly talked about today. Let's take a look into who Florence was, what she accomplished, and how she is still celebrated today. Florence was not only a pioneer in the forefront of modern nursing, but she was beloved by many and is known as the patron saint of the sick. However, Florence grew up in a life of luxury before she decided to dedicate her life to serving the sick. Wikipedia goes on to tell us that Florence was born May 12, 1820, in Florence, Italy, hence her name. Her family was extremely wealthy. Her mother was from a family of merchants, and her father was a wealthy landowner. Asha Shetty, in the Articles of Modern Medicine, writes that Florence was well educated in German, French, and Italian, and was extremely gifted in mathematics. At age 16, she gets a call from God, ignores her parents' objections about becoming a nurse, ends a 9-year courtship to a politician, and enrolls in nursing school in 1844 at the Lutheran Hospital in Germany. In 1853, she completed her education training. She continued additional training in 1853 with the Sisters of Mercy. She was then appointed the superintendent at Harley Street Hospital in London that served poor women. Florence's most well-known accomplishment is the works she did in the Crimea War and her advocacy for clean quarters and supplies for the soldiers, as written by Beth Urrich in the Neuropathy Nursing Journal. When Florence returns from the Crimea War, she continues her work to improve the healthcare system. Some of her accomplishments listed on Wikipedia and in an article by Shetty were: in 1859, she wrote Notes on Nursing. In 1860, she opened the Florence Nightingale Nurses Training School in London, which transformed nursing into a respectable career and reformed health and sanitation protocols. She was also the first healthcare researcher to establish the idea of evidence-based practice. She researched the morbidity and mortality of soldiers during the Crimea War and maternal mortality from puerperal fever. Some of her awards listed on Wikipedia were that in 1856, she received an award from Queen Victoria when she returned home from the war. In 1883, she was the first recipient of the Royal Red Cross. In 1904, she was appointed Lady of Grace at the Order of St. John. And in 1907, she was the first lady to receive the Order of Merit. It is no question that Florence changed the face of modern nursing, which is why she is still celebrated today. Florence Nightingale's legacy carries on into the education of student nurses. The Florence Nightingale Foundation was established in 1929. Their website states that their mission is to pioneer change and improvements in patient and health outcomes through nursing and midwifery leadership. There are many scholarships available on the website for research, travel, and leadership. She is celebrated every year on her birthday on May 12th. This year we celebrated her 200th anniversary. Karen Robbins, in her article, Nurse-Led Initiatives, written in the Neuropathy Nursing Journal, says that 2020 was declared the Year of the Nurse by the World Health Organization. There's a whole week dedicated to nurses where they can get free Chipotle or coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. So next year, be sure to thank a nurse you know. I can only hope to aspire to be half the nurse Florence was. She is such an inspiration to many who go into this profession to help others. 2020 has been a challenging time for everybody in the healthcare industry. Just as Florence introduced the idea of hand washing in the 1800s, we are continuing to innovate new ways to protect not only ourselves, but our patients. The COVID pandemic has turned the eyes of the nation onto nurses who are on the forefront every day, putting their own lives at risk to help the greater good. I will leave you with this. Jessica Utz quoted Florence in an article in Amstat News that she once wrote it would take 150 years before we would achieve the kind of nursing she envisioned. Well, that day is here. I believe this pandemic has shown us how vital nurses are to society. So thank you, Florence, for paving the way for all nurses. And thank you to the nurses who continue to follow in her footsteps. P.S. Don't forget to wash your hands. Thank you.